The Galactic Confederation had existed for over 12,000 years. 17 major species, 42 minor species, and countless client races lived under the benevolent, or at least bureaucratically efficient rule of the Confederation Council. They had protocols for everything: first contact, trade disputes, border agreements, technological sharing, and even the proper way to apologize for accidentally conquering a planet. It happens more often than you'd think. But in their 12 millennia of existence, the Confederation had never encountered a species quite like humans. They did what? High Councillor Vesric of the Trillax Dominion slammed all 6 of his appendages onto the council table, sending ripples through his gelatinous form. They declined to submit pre-negotiation demands. "Excellency," said Diplomat Norlat, her antennae twitching nervously. "The humans simply accepted our invitation to the summit and asked when they should arrive." A heavy silence fell over the emergency council chamber, located at the heart of Confederation space. The chamber featured an enormous round table with representatives from all 17 major species. The architecture was designed to impress: soaring ceilings, holographic displays of cosmic phenomena, and gravity platforms adjusted to each species' preference. Today, however, the grandeur was overshadowed by the unprecedented crisis they faced. "This is clearly a negotiation tactic," rumbled General QHX, the granite-skinned representative of the Boulderites. "They're playing psychological games." Sin Po, the diminutive but respected diplomat from the Luminari Collective, raised a glowing tentacle. "Perhaps we're overthinking this. The humans are newcomers to interstellar politics. Maybe they simply misunderstood the protocol." High Councillor Vesric's upper body rippled in the Trillax equivalent of a scornful laugh. "A species doesn't develop faster than light travel by accident, Sin Po. The humans know exactly what they're doing. This is calculated. They're trying to throw us off balance." "It's working," muttered Diplomat Frez of the Avians, preening his feathers anxiously. The truth was, the Confederation had been monitoring Earth for centuries. Standard procedure for potentially spacefaring species. They'd observed humans' chaotic political systems, their bizarre cultural practices, their inexplicable ability to bond with other species they called pets, and their alarming tendency to put themselves in deadly situations for fun. What truly terrified the Confederation, however, was humanity's capacity for both stunning kindness and unspeakable violence, often within the same individual. Most Confederation species had evolved past such extremes, finding stability in moderation. Humans, by contrast, seemed to thrive on their contradictions. When humans unexpectedly achieved faster than light travel 3 months ago, using a method the Confederation's scientists had deemed theoretically impossible, protocol demanded an immediate diplomatic response. A standard negotiation invitation was extended, the same one used for thousands of first contacts. The standard response was for the new species to submit a list of demands: territory rights, technology transfers, trade agreements, or military alliances. These demands formed the foundation of negotiations, allowing the Confederation to gauge the newcomers' priorities and temperament. But the humans? They just said they'd love to chat. "We need a new strategy," said Councillor Vesric. "Ambassador Krillvor, you'll lead our delegation. We find out what these humans really want." Jokize. SLS. Ambassador Krillvor, a tall, slender being with metallic blue skin and 4 arms, looked up from the datapad where he'd been reviewing human psychology reports. "With all due respect, Excellency, I'm not sure the standard approaches will work here. The humans are unpredictable." "That's precisely why we need someone with your experience," said Vesric. "You've negotiated 17 treaties with 11 different species. If anyone can decipher the human strategy, it's you." What no one said aloud was that Krillvor was also expendable as senior diplomat, but not irreplaceable. If the humans turned out to be as volatile as their history suggested, the Confederation needed someone competent enough to handle negotiations, but not so essential that their loss would be catastrophic. "Very well," said Krillvor, bowing slightly. "I'll prepare a team immediately. The humans arrive in 3 cycles." As the council adjourned, Krillvor couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something obvious about these humans. something that explained why a species would come to the most important negotiation in their history without a single demand. Unless, of course, what they wanted was so vast that they dared not name it. The Confederation's diplomatic corps headquarters transformed into a war room as ambassadors, cultural specialists, xenopsychologists, and military advisors prepared for the human delegation's arrival. Assistant diplomats scurried between holographic displays showing Earth's history, while analysts frantically updated risk assessments based on the latest human news broadcasts. "They're sending how many representatives?" Ambassador Krilvor asked, his metallic blue skin developing an anxious purple tinge. "Just 3, sir," replied his assistant, Melix, a bird-like being with iridescent feathers and a cybernetic vocal apparatus. Their chief negotiator Marcus Thompson, scientific advisor Dr. Eleanor Reyes, and cultural attaché Jackson Wu. 3? Krilvor blinked all 4 of his eyes in succession. A standard negotiation team is at least 12 members. What are they playing at? Perhaps they're conserving resources, offered xenopsychologist Ziv, a gelatinous mass of neural tissue floating in a hovering containment field. Their ships are still primitive by Confederation standards. Krilvor paced the room, all 4 arms clasped behind his back. No, this is tactical. They're limiting information exchange by restricting personnel. By Jorx's tentacles, they're good. At precisely that moment, a junior diplomat burst into the room, antennae vibrating with alarm. "Ambassador, the human ship has arrived early, and out with it, Plex. They've brought gifts, sir. Containers of something called craft beer and sourdough bread. And they're asking if they can take pictures with various ambassadors for their social media." The room fell silent. "Is this some form of psychological warfare?" whispered Melix. Krilvor frowned. "Perhaps. Or a distraction tactic. He prepared the defense screens. Against bread, sir? You can't be too careful." Meanwhile, aboard the human vessel Earthship Diplomacy, retrofitted from a commercial cruise liner, the atmosphere couldn't have been more different. Marcus Thompson, a former university professor with salt and pepper hair and an easy smile, was putting the finishing touches on his casual attire, earth blue blazer with comfortable slacks, and against protocol recommendations his lucky Captain America socks. "Do you think the beer was too much?" he asked, adjusting his collar. Dr. Eleanor Reyes, an exobiologist with 20 years of field experience and 0 diplomatic training, looked up from her tablet. "The protocol office nearly had a stroke when you proposed it, so probably yes." "Perfect." Marcus grinned. "Nothing breaks the ice like a little rule breaking. How are we doing, Jackson?" Jackson Wu, an anthropologist specializing in cross-cultural communication and TikTok dance trends, was organizing their collection of Earth souvenirs. "I'm still sad they wouldn't let us bring a dog. Nothing says we come in peace like a golden retriever." "Next time," promised Marcus. "Let's focus on not starting an interstellar incident today." "Too late," Eleanor muttered, reading an incoming message. "The Confederation Diplomatic Corps is requesting our full list of demands and negotiation parameters for the 5th time." Marcus shrugged. "Tell them we're looking forward to a productive conversation about mutual interests and potential partnerships." "That's what I said the last 4 times," Eleanor replied. "They're getting increasingly agitated." "Good," said Marcus, with a smile that had once charmed funding out of the most tight-fisted university administrators. "A little confusion can be healthy in negotiations. It keeps people present." "Is that what they taught you in diplomatic corps training?" Jackson asked, arranging a display of Earth chocolates. "Nope," Marcus winked. "That's what I learned coaching my daughter's middle school debate team. You'd be amazed how similar intergalactic diplomacy is to wrangling 12-year-olds. As they prepared to board the shuttle to the Confederation's diplomatic station, Eleanor looked nervous. "You really think this approach will work? The we're just here to make friends strategy?" Marcus paused, his expression turning serious for a moment. "Eleanor, in the history of Earth, name one time when people showing up with a big list of demands made a good first impression." She considered this. Fair point. Besides, he added, retrieving a small, well-worn book from his bag, I've got our real secret weapon right here. Jackson peered at the title, How to Win Friends and Influence People. A 20th century Earth text on human psychology. Eleanor raised an eyebrow. The greatest diplomatic manual ever written, Marcus said with absolute conviction. Now, let's go make some alien friends. As their shuttle departed for the diplomatic station, none of them noticed the 6 different weapons systems tracking their every move, or the panic they were causing among the Confederation's most seasoned diplomats. The grand negotiation chamber of the Confederation diplomatic station was a marvel of xeno-architecture. Its walls shifted colors to accommodate the visual spectrums of different species. The air composition changed in different sectors to ensure respiratory comfort. The gravity, temperature, and even the background noise were all carefully calibrated for maximum diplomatic efficiency, none of which prepared it for the entrance of the human delegation. Wow, said Marcus Thompson, whistling appreciatively as they entered. This place makes the United Nations look like a high school gymnasium. Their Confederation escorts a team of 8 security officers from different species twitched nervously at the unexpected sound. One of them, a reptilian being, actually reached for its weapon before realizing the human was merely expressing admiration. Across the chamber, Ambassador Krill Vor and his team of 22 diplomats, analysts and security specialists stood in perfect formation. They wore the formal attire of Confederation diplomats, geometrically precise uniforms with insignia indicating their species, rank and specific diplomatic functions. The human delegation, by contrast, looked like they were attending a casual Friday meeting. Marcus stepped forward with a wide smile and extended his hand toward Krill Vor. Ambassador, it's a pleasure to meet you in person. I'm Marcus Thompson. Thanks for the invitation. Krill Vor stared at the extended hand with all 4 eyes. The Confederation diplomatic database indicated this was a human greeting gesture, but also potentially a dominance display in some contexts. After a moment's hesitation, he extended his upper right arm. Chief Negotiator Thompson, the Confederation welcomes you and your delegation to this historical summit. The translation devices rendered his formal unified Confederation language into English with only a slight delay. We are prepared to hear your demands and begin negotiations according to Protocol 7B of the Galactic Confederation Charter. Marcus shook the ambassador's hand with warm enthusiasm. No demands necessary, Ambassador. We're just excited to be here, learn about your cultures, and see where we might find common ground. A visible ripple of confusion passed through the Confederation delegation. Several junior diplomats began frantically consulting their datapads. Perhaps, Krill Vor said carefully, there is a translation error. Demands in our context refers to your position on territorial rights, technology exchange, trade parameters, and security agreements. Oh, we understand, said Dr. Reyes, stepping forward. But we don't believe starting with demands is the most productive approach. We'd prefer to learn about each other first, establish trust, and then discuss specific agreements that might benefit everyone. The Confederation diplomats exchanged alarmed glances. One of them, a small floating orb that served as the delegation's chief analyst, actually dimmed its glow in what appeared to be shock. Krill Vor's skin shifted to a deeper blue. This is unprecedented. We tend to do that, Jackson Wu chimed in cheerfully. Now, would anyone like to try some authentic Earth chocolate? We brought several varieties. Is this a negotiation tactic? Krill Vor asked, genuine confusion evident in his voice. It's chocolate, Jackson replied, holding out a wrapped piece, though I suppose humans have used it to smooth diplomatic relations for centuries. One of the security officers, a being composed primarily of crystalline structures, whispered urgently to Krill Vor, sir. Our scanners detect various psychoactive compounds in this offering. Marcus laughed. That's just the theobromine. It's what gives chocolate its kick. Perfectly safe for humans, though I've heard it can affect some Earth animals differently. They admit it contains mind-altering substances, hissed another diplomat. The situation deteriorated further when Dr. Reyes, attempting to diffuse the tension, asked if she could take photographs for scientific documentation. The request sent the security team into a frenzy, convinced that the humans were attempting to gather intelligence on Confederation weaknesses. After nearly an hour of increasingly absurd misunderstandings, the delegations finally seated themselves at the negotiation table. The Confederation side had prepared extensive defensive positions against anticipated human demands. They had charts, graphs, historical precedents, and carefully calibrated concessions ready. The humans had brought snacks and genuine curiosity. Perhaps, Krilvor said, struggling to maintain his diplomatic composure, you could share your long-term goals regarding the Confederation? What does humanity hope to achieve through these negotiations? Marcus leaned back in his chair, looking thoughtful. You know, Ambassador, humanity doesn't have a unified position yet. We're still getting used to the idea that we're not alone in the universe. Some of us want to trade, some want to share knowledge, some just want to make friends. A few are scared, of course. Fear of the unknown is pretty universal. I think. But you must have some objective, pressed Krilvor, some strategic aim. Well, not getting vaporized would be nice, Marcus said with a grin. The joke fell flat as every translator in the room rendered it literally, causing several Confederation security officers to move their hands closer to their weapons. What my colleague means, Dr. Reyes interjected quickly, is that we're here to establish peaceful relations. We don't have specific demands because we first want to understand what's possible, what's appropriate, and what would be mutually beneficial. Krilvor's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought in his species. You mean to say you came to the most significant diplomatic event in your species' history, just to chat? Pretty much, said Marcus, offering his most disarming smile. We figured the demands could wait until after we got to know each other. The Confederation delegation fell into stunned silence. And that was when Jackson Wu, attempting to fill the awkward pause, made the innocent comment that would nearly trigger an interstellar incident. So, do you guys have anything like Netflix out here in space? Because Earth has some great shows we could recommend. The Confederation Security Council convened in emergency session 16 hours after the first negotiation meeting with the humans. The circular chamber, located deep within the diplomatic station and shielded against all known forms of surveillance, was filled to capacity as representatives from every major species demanded updates. They asked about our entertainment media, reported Security Chief Drex, a hulking 6-limbed being whose exoskeleton clicked nervously as he spoke. They wanted to know what we watch for leisure. Clearly they are assessing our psychological vulnerabilities. Councillor Vesrik's gelatinous form rippled with concern. And this Netflix they mentioned? Our analysts believe it's either a global surveillance network disguised as entertainment or a mind control system, said Intelligence Director Plex. The humans seemed very eager to share it with us. In a darkened corner of the chamber, xenopsychologist Ziv's containment field hummed softly as the neural mass pulsated. I disagree with this assessment. Based on intercepted Earth communications, this Netflix appears to be merely a content distribution platform. The humans may genuinely be attempting cultural exchange. That's absurd, snapped General QX, the granite-skinned boulderite. No species travels across the stars simply to make friends and share culture. The humans have some agenda. We just haven't discerned it yet. Ambassador Krilvor, who had been silently reviewing the negotiation transcripts, finally spoke. Perhaps their strategy is more subtle than we anticipated. By refusing to make demands, they force us to offer concessions without reciprocation. Psychological warfare, agreed General QX. Or perhaps, suggested Shinpo of the Luminari Collective, they are exactly what they appear to be, a young species excited about first contact. The chamber erupted into conflicting theories, each more paranoid than the last. Some believed the humans were advanced scouts for a massive invasion fleet. Others suggested they might be trying to infiltrate Confederation society through cultural contamination. One particularly creative theory proposed that humans were actually biological weapons created by an unknown enemy of the Confederation. Meanwhile, in their accommodations aboard the diplomatic station, the human delegation was having a crisis of their own. They think chocolate is a psychoactive drug designed to compromise their negotiators, Dr. Reyes said, pacing the room, and apparently asking about their entertainment was interpreted as intelligence gathering. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. I didn't think they'd be this paranoid. Every friendly gesture seems to make them more suspicious. It's a classic cross-cultural misunderstanding, Jackson explained, scrolling through his notes. Their diplomatic protocols evolved in a context where new species typically had territorial or resource-based demands. Our lack of demands doesn't compute in their system. So what do we do? Asked Dr. Reyes. Make up some demands to make them comfortable? No, Marcus said firmly. We stick to our approach. They'll eventually realize we're genuinely interested in peaceful cooperation. The next morning, the Galactic Confederation News Network, GCNN, began broadcasting breaking reports across thousands of worlds. History surrounds human negotiation tactics as diplomatic experts struggle to decipher their true intentions. Sources close to the negotiation team report that the humans have refused to state their demands, a move some analysts interpret as an unprecedented power play. The broadcast featured interviews with so-called human experts who had never actually met a human. Their biological history suggests they evolved as persistence predators, said one expert, a tentacled academic from a water world. This negotiation strategy mirrors their hunting technique, wear down the target through psychological pressure before striking. Another commentator, a crystalline entity, chimed in, the absence of demands is, itself, the most aggressive demand. They're essentially saying, give us everything. When the human delegation entered the second day of negotiations, they found the Confederation team had doubled in size and now included military advisors. The tension in the room was palpable. Before we continue, Ambassador Krillvor stated formally, we must address the incident from yesterday's session. Incident? Marcus asked, genuinely confused. Your inquiry about our entertainment media has been interpreted by some as an attempt to gather cultural intelligence for nefarious purposes. Jackson Wu looked mortified. I was just trying to make conversation, find common ground. A likely explanation, said Krillvor, not sounding convinced. Nevertheless, the Security Council requires clarification about this Netflix and why you seem so intent on sharing it with us. What followed was a bizarre 30-minute explanation of streaming services, during which the Confederation analysts took copious notes and security personnel remained on high alert. The situation became even more tense when Jackson mentioned binge-watching, which the translators unfortunately rendered as compulsive consumption protocol. As the humans struggled to explain the concept of watching multiple episodes of a show in one sitting for pleasure, alarm spread through the Confederation delegation. They admit to using these shows to induce altered states of consciousness, whispered one analyst to Krillvor. Throughout this escalating absurdity, Marcus Thompson maintained an air of calm amusement. When asked directly about humanity's true agenda, he simply replied, "We're just hoping to make some friends out here. Space is big and full of wonders, but it can probably get lonely too." This seemingly innocent statement caused yet another stir among the Confederation diplomats. Was it a veiled threat? An admission of emotional vulnerability? A cryptic reference to human expansion plans? By the end of the second day, the Confederation was no closer to understanding the human strategy, while the humans were increasingly baffled by the aliens' paranoia. The only thing keeping the situation from complete diplomatic collapse was Marcus Thompson's unflappable good humor and genuine interest in the various species he encountered. As the human delegation returned to their quarters, unaware of the security team secretly monitoring their every word and gesture, Dr. Reyes summed up their predicament. They're terrified of us because we're not demanding anything. It's like we've accidentally brought a gun to a knife fight by showing up empty-handed. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. Tomorrow I think we need to help them understand how humans really think. Because right now they're seeing chess moves in a game of frisbee. Day 3 of negotiations began with the Confederation diplomatic team implementing what they called Strategic Counter Protocol 17B, a complex negotiation tactic designed to reveal hidden agendas through a series of deliberately contradictory offers. The protocol had successfully exposed the true aims of the notoriously deceptive Krill hegemony during trade disputes 50 years earlier. Against the humans, it failed spectacularly. "So you're offering us exclusive mining rights in Sector 87C?" Marcus asked, sounding confused. "Yes," said Ambassador Krill Vor, watching carefully for signs of triumph or disappointment that would reveal the humans' true interest in the worthless asteroid field. "But yesterday you said that Sector was sacred to the Boulderites." "It is of significant cultural value," Krill Vor admitted, following the protocol's script for a false concession. "Then we couldn't possibly accept," Marcus said immediately. "We wouldn't want to disrespect your cultural heritage." The Confederation negotiators exchanged baffled glances. The humans had just rejected a valuable resource concession, one that was actually a trap designed to expose their greed. "Perhaps," tried Krill Vor again, "you would be interested in limited technology exchange in the field of propulsion systems." This offer was genuine, as the Confederation had determined that human FTL technology was both unusual and potentially valuable, making an exchange beneficial. "That sounds great," Marcus said enthusiastically. "Our engineers would love to learn from your experience. We've only had working FTL for a few months, and I'm sure there's a lot we could learn from each other." Krill Vor's skin rippled in confusion. The humans had accepted the reasonable offer, but showed no interest in pushing for more advanced technologies that the Confederation was prepared to protect at all costs. For the next 4 hours, the Confederation team deployed increasingly sophisticated diplomatic maneuvers designed to reveal the humans' hidden agenda. Each attempt was met with either polite interest in fair exchanges or courteous refusal of one-sided benefits. By midday, Ambassador Krill Vor was developing stress patterns across his metallic blue skin. "Perhaps," he said finally, abandoning protocol entirely, "you could simply tell us what Earth wants from this negotiation." Marcus Thompson smiled that disarming smile that had begun to haunt Krill Vor's rest cycles. "We want what most sentient beings want, Ambassador, peace, prosperity, and the chance to learn and grow. We'd like to trade fairly, share knowledge that benefits everyone, and ensure the safety of our world and people." "But that's what everyone claims to want," Krill Vor said, frustration evident in his multi-toned voice. "What do you really want?" Marcus leaned forward, his expression turning serious. "Ambassador, has it occurred to you that maybe we're telling the truth? That humanity genuinely came here hoping to establish friendly relations rather than to extract maximum concessions?" A heavy silence fell over the negotiation chamber. The concept was so alien to Confederation diplomatic practice that it took several moments for the translators to find appropriate wording. During this tense silence, Dr. Eleanor Reyes decided to share some of her research on Earth's ecosystem, a gesture intended to demonstrate openness and scientific goodwill. She began displaying holographic images of Earth's diverse biomes, explaining how different species coexisted and adapted. Unfortunately, when she reached the section on Earth's predator-prey relationships, including footage of a lion hunting a gazelle, several Confederation security officers interpreted this as a thinly veiled threat. Within minutes, silent alarms were triggered throughout the diplomatic station. "It appears," said a senior security officer, interrupting Dr. Reyes mid-sentence, "that the humans are showing us how they hunt their prey before attacking. This constitutes a direct threat under Confederation Protocol 23D. "What?" "No." Dr. Reyes looked horrified. "This is just basic ecology. I'm trying to explain Earth's biodiversity." But the damage was done. As security personnel moved to surround the human delegation, Marcus Thompson stood up slowly, hands visible in what he hoped was a universal gesture of non-aggression. "There's been a serious misunderstanding," he said calmly. "Dr. Reyes is a scientist sharing information, not making threats. We came here in peace, and that hasn't changed. For a moment, It seemed the situation might escalate to actual violence, potentially triggering the first interstellar conflict between Earth and the Galactic Confederation before formal relations had even been established. And that was when Jackson Wu, cultural attaché and part-time stress baker, had his moment of accidental brilliance. "Would anyone like some sourdough?" he asked, opening a container of bread he'd been saving for a cultural exchange. On Earth, breaking bread together is a symbol of peace and friendship across many cultures. The random non sequitur was so unexpected that it momentarily confused everyone enough to pause the escalation. Security officers looked to Ambassador Krill Vor for guidance, while the ambassador himself stared at the bread with all four eyes. "You wish us to consume sustenance together in the middle of this crisis?" Krill Vor asked, baffled. "It's not just sustenance," Marcus explained, quickly catching on to Jackson's idea. "Sharing food is one of humanity's oldest peace rituals. It symbolizes trust and goodwill." After a tense moment, xenopsychologist Ziv's containment field floated forward. "The human cultural databases we've studied do confirm this practice. It appears to be a genuine de-escalation gesture." Cautiously, Ambassador Krill Vor accepted a piece of sourdough. Various members of both delegations watched in tense silence as the ambassador took a small bite using his lower left hand. After a moment of careful tasting, Krill Vor's skin shifted to a lighter, more iridescent blue, a sign of pleasure in his species. "This is unusual but not unpleasant." One by one, other members of the Confederation delegation who could consume Earth-based nutrients tried the bread. The simple act of sharing food did what hours of formal negotiation couldn't. It created a moment of genuine connection. As the tension gradually dissolved, Marcus Thompson seized the opportunity to address the underlying problem. "Ambassador, I think I understand the confusion now. You keep expecting us to have some hidden agenda because that's standard in your diplomatic experience. But humanity is still new to interstellar politics. We came here with open minds and open hearts, not secret plans." "That," said Ambassador Krill Vor, still holding a piece of sourdough, "is precisely what makes you so terrifying." 3 days later, the negotiation chamber had transformed. Gone was the rigid formal arrangement of the initial meetings. In its place, various conversation clusters had formed as humans and aliens engaged in genuine dialogue. Dr. Reyes was deep in discussion with Confederation xenobiologists about Earth's unusual biodiversity. Jackson Wu had organized an impromptu cultural exchange, teaching a group of fascinated diplomats how to play poker while learning a luminary strategy game in return. At the main table, Marcus Thompson and Ambassador Krill Vor were putting the finishing touches on what would later be known as the Earth Confederation Friendship Accord, possibly the strangest diplomatic document in Confederation history. "So we're agreed," Marcus said. "Earth will share our unique approach to faster-than-light travel, and in return, the Confederation will provide mentorship in interstellar navigation and establish an academic exchange program. And Earth will be classified as a protected developing civilization with observer status in the Confederation," added Krill Vor, whose initial suspicion had gradually transformed into cautious respect. "This will prevent any species from attempting to exploit your planet while you develop your interstellar capabilities." Marcus nodded, with the option to apply for associate membership after 10 Earth years. As the various legal experts from both sides worked on the precise wording, Krill Vor leaned closer to Marcus. "I must confess, Chief Negotiator Thompson, that I still don't fully understand your approach. In 12,000 years of Confederation history, no species has ever approached negotiations without specific demands." Marcus smiled. "It's not complicated, Ambassador. Humans have a saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We decided we'd rather go far." "A wise philosophy," admitted Krill Vor, "though I suspect there's more to it than simple wisdom." "Well," Marcus said with a chuckle, "there's also the fact that we had absolutely no idea what to ask for. How could we make specific demands about things we don't understand yet? It seemed smarter to learn first, then negotiate later." Krill Vor's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, the gesture that humans had learned indicated surprise. You mean your entire approach was based on ignorance? I prefer to call it humility, Marcus replied. But yes, it's essentially. At that moment, High Counselor Vez Rick entered the chamber, his gelatinous form gliding smoothly across the floor. The entire room fell silent as the head of the Confederation Council approached the human delegation. Chief Negotiator Thompson. Vez Rick's translated voice resonated through the chamber. The Council has reviewed the preliminary agreement. It is unconventional, but acceptable. There is, however, one matter I must address personally. Marcus straightened in his chair. Of course, High Counselor. Our intelligence division has completed its analysis of human history and culture, Vez Rick continued. We have observed your wars, your divisive politics, your environmental challenges. By all standard metrics, humanity should not be capable of the approach you've demonstrated here. We contain multitudes, Marcus said with a small smile. Humans can be terrible and wonderful, often simultaneously. Indeed. And that is precisely what makes you unique among the species we have encountered. Vez Rick's form rippled in what the humans had learned was a gesture of profound emphasis. Most civilizations achieve interstellar capabilities only after achieving internal unity and ideological stability. Your species has somehow developed advanced technology while maintaining significant internal diversity and conflict. We're works in progress, admitted Marcus. You are unpredictable, countered Vez Rick, and in 12 millennia of Confederation history, unpredictability has always represented danger. A tense silence fell over the chamber. Until now, Vez Rick continued, surprising everyone. Your delegation has demonstrated that unpredictability can also be a source of creativity, innovation, even wisdom. The High Counselor's form shifted, producing a small object that he presented to Marcus, a metallic disc with intricate patterns etched into its surface. This is the seal of friendship, an honor bestowed only 23 times in Confederation history. With it comes my personal request. The Confederation would like to establish a permanent human embassy within our central worlds, not in 10 years, but immediately. Murmurs of surprise rippled through the chamber. This was an unprecedented honor for a new species. Marcus accepted the seal with appropriate gravity. We're deeply honored, High Counselor, but may I ask why? Because, said Vez Rick, in our 12,000 years of existence, the Confederation has grown perhaps too comfortable with its protocols and predictions. Your species reminds us that sometimes the most powerful negotiation tactic is simply to listen and learn before making demands. It is a lesson we had forgotten. Later that evening, as the human delegation prepared to return to Earth with news of their successful negotiation, Dr. Reyes asked the question that had been bothering her. Marcus, did you plan this all along? Did you know that having no demands would freak them out so much they'd end up offering us better terms than we could have asked for? Marcus Thompson, former university professor and now humanity's first successful interstellar diplomat, grinned. Eleanor, I'd love to claim I'm that clever, but the truth is much simpler. I just followed the advice in that old book I showed you. How to win friends and influence people, Jackson asked, packing away his collection of alien cultural artifacts. Exactly. Rule number 1, become genuinely interested in other people. We came here interested in them, not in what we could get from them. Marcus shrugged. Turns out, that's so rare in galactic politics that it's considered either brilliant strategy or madness. And which was it? Pressed Dr. Reyes. Marcus laughed. I'm still not sure, but I do know this humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our resources or even our adaptability. It's our capacity to approach new situations with both caution and hope. We're suspicious enough to survive but optimistic enough to connect. As their ship prepared for departure, the final communications from the Confederation arrived. A holographic message from Ambassador Krillvor flickered to life in the command center. Chief Negotiator Thompson, Krillvor said, his 4 eyes focused intently on the camera. The Council has requested I share something with you before your departure, something no other emerging civilization has been told. Marcus exchanged glances with Dr. Reyes and Jackson, then nodded. We're listening, Ambassador. The Confederation's standard protocol for first contact has always included a hidden test, Krilvor explained. We deliberately present ourselves as imperious and demanding to gauge how a new species responds to perceived power imbalance. Jackson let out a low whistle. So this was all an elaborate evaluation. Indeed, Krilvor continued. Most civilizations react with either excessive deference or aggressive posturing, both concerning indicators for long-term relations. Your approach was unprecedented. You mean we passed a test we didn't know we were taking? Dr. Reyes asked. Not merely passed, you have redefined our understanding of what success looks like. Krilvor's translator conveyed what seemed like genuine admiration. In all our encounters, no species has responded with such balanced curiosity and restraint. The High Council believes this indicates an unusual evolutionary path for your kind. Marcus raised an eyebrow. How so? Most spacefaring civilizations evolve toward uniformity, a single governing philosophy, cultural homogeneity, biological optimization. But humanity's trajectory suggests something different, a persistent, dynamic tension between competing ideas and approaches that somehow produces innovation rather than collapse. We call it muddling through, Marcus said with a smile. It's not always pretty, but it works for us. It may work for the galaxy as well, Krilvor replied. The Council theorizes that your species' unique developmental path might offer solutions to challenges the Confederation has struggled with for millennia. The ambassador's form shifted slightly as he leaned closer to the camera. There is one final thing. We have detected unusual quantum signatures around your solar system patterns that suggest you've been observed by entities unknown even to us. Your entry into the galactic community may have implications beyond what either of our civilizations can foresee. As the hologram faded, the three humans stood in stunned silence. Well, Jackson finally said, breaking the tension, no pressure or anything. Dr. Reyes turned to Marcus. What do you make of that last bit? Other watchers? Marcus gazed out at the stars through the viewport. I think it means we've just stepped onto a much larger stage than we realized, and our performance matters. The ship's engines hummed to life as Earth's first successful interstellar diplomatic mission began its journey home, carrying not just an unprecedented treaty, but the weight of a revelation. Humanity's chaotic, messy approach to existence might be exactly what the ordered cosmos needed. As they accelerated toward light speed, Marcus reflected that perhaps their greatest achievement wasn't securing favorable terms or even gaining the Confederation's respect. It was demonstrating that sometimes not knowing exactly what you want opens the door to discovering what you truly need. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, unknown observers took note of this unusual meeting of civilizations, calculating their own ancient plans in response to an outcome none had predicted.